Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So I'm going to show you how to make this look-alike Prada bag that I made. But I want to show you a few things on it first, just in case you didn't want to make it. I made it with, it's not worked in the round, it's worked in back and forth. So it does have a seam up the side. And when you sew it together, if you just are careful and you sew the seam as neatly as you can, it's not going to be that noticeable. I actually did try working it in the round, but it just looked better. The seam looked better doing it this way than it did working it in the round. It didn't look right that way. So I thought it looked a lot better like this. And another thing I want to show you is it's not stiff like the original one. If you want it to be stiff, I didn't show it in the video, but you're going to need to line it and put like a piece of plastic canvas or cardboard or something in between the liner and the bag on all four sides, and that's going to make it stiffer. And one thing I didn't do, but I should have, if I could do it over again, I would probably do it, is use two strings at the same time. I used two strands for the handles and for the bottom, so they're really stiff, but I didn't for the main portion. And I probably would, if I ever did it again, I would use two at the same time. It would make it a lot stiffer. But again, that's completely up to you because I didn't do it, but I will. Okay, for this project, I'm using Caron Simply Soft. It's sew worsted weight, 4-ply acrylic, and I'm going to be using a size H. It is a 5mm crochet hook. Now I already got my big piece done, but I'll show you how to do that. This is what it's going to kind of look like. I'm making one solid piece, and then it'll be sewed together at the side, and then the bottom will be sewed on separate. And since I already did my big piece here, I'm just going to show you on a smaller scale. But for this big piece, you want to start out with a chain of 122. Now you can make it bigger or smaller. Now remember, this big piece is going to be all four sides. So if you want to make it bigger and smaller, it needs to be done in multiples of 4 plus 2 more for the base chain. So I'm just going to show you on a smaller scale, but once you get your chain of 122 made, you want to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, like that, and then you do 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of your chain. Just like this, all the way until you get to the end. Okay, and when you get to the end, this is where I'm going to do a color change. Now, when you're doing this, changing colors, you want the seam to be as clean as possible, because we're going to have to sew it up in the end, and we want to try to have a neat seam on the side of the bag. So, by doing that, I like to just tie off at the end of each color instead of trying to just change colors in the middle of it. So, at the end of this, I'm just going to tie off right here. And I'm going to clip a long tail so I can sew it in later, like that. And you want to pull your knot really tight so it looks nice and smooth, like that. And then we'll just start our next color right here in this last stitch. So I'm going to grab my next color, and I'm just going to turn this work around and start on this end. So I'm going to go in the very last stitch here that we just tied off, and that's where I'm going to start my yarn. So I'm just going to grab it and pull it through, and I'm going to hold these tails tight here, and I'm going to start this row off with a chain of 4, and that's the only time, this is the only time we'll start the row off with a chain of 4, just this time. Now we want to go right back into that same stitch and put 3 double crochets in that same one. 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to skip 3 stitches, skip, 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 and then the 4th one I'm going to single crochet, single crochet, and this is going to be the repeat. Single crochet, chain 3, go back in the same stitch and put 3 double crochets. 1, all in that same stitch. 2, and 3. So that's what you got. You want to skip 3 again, skip, 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 and the 4th one, single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, go back into the exact same stitch and put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And this is what we're just going to repeat this to the end of the row. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the next one, the 4th one, single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, go back into the same stitch and put 3 doubles. 1, 2, and 3. Skip 3, and then I'm at the end, but whenever you get to the end in your last stitch, you just single crochet. Remember, I did mine on a smaller scale, but when you get to the end, you should be able to skip 3 and have 1 stitch left. In that last stitch, you put a single crochet, just like that. And then this is what it kind of looks like. And now I'm going to tie off again because I want my seam to be clean. So I'm just going to go through, tie off, clip a long enough tail that I can weave it in later. Pull this knot pretty tight so it's nice and clean, like that. See, if I was to try to switch colors in the middle, I just think it would look bad. I'm not really good at that, so I like to tie off at the end of each color. Now I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to start my new color right here in that single crochet that we just did. So I'm going to go back to my other color, and I'm going to start it right here in that single crochet. Now I'm going to start off. Now this is the row. I'm going to start repeating this row. I'm going to start off with a chain 3, just like that. I'm going to go back into the same stitch and do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to come over here to this space here, this chain space, and I'm going to single crochet in it, just like that. And I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go right back into the space and do 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to jump over to the next space here. You can see it, that chain 3 space. Single crochet just right through with this whole space, like that. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Go back into that space, just right through the whole space, and put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. The next chain 3 space right here, single crochet right through the whole space, chain 3, go back into that big space and put 3 double crochets. And you just want to repeat this to the end of your row. 1, 2, and 3. And when you get to the last chain 3 space right here, you just want to single crochet into the top stitch of this chain 3 space. I go into the top chain of it. Kind of makes the row a little bit more even, and single crochet, and that's how you end the row. And I'm going to tie this off too. Pull it nice and tight so it looks nice and clean. That's what we have again. Turn it, start my next one right here in this single crochet that we left off. Just going to be repeating these rows now. Right in it. Start off with the chain 3. Go back into the same space and put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Jump over here to this chain 3 space, single crochet, chain 3, go back into the same space, 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. Jump over to the next chain 3 space, single crochet, chain 3, go back in it, 3 doubles. Next chain 3 space, single crochet, chain 3, go back into the space and put 3 doubles. In this, you just repeat this to the end, and when you get to the end of your row, again you just want to single crochet in this space, the third or the top chain of that space. Tie off and start again with the next, or your other color, and you just repeat this, keep repeating this row. And that's what it starts to look like. And you want to do that for, you can actually do it as tall as you want, just keep repeating back and forth for as many rows as you like. I did 13 rows of the shell. Yeah, 13 rows, not counting this row single crochet. 13. And then when you sew in your tails, just try to sew them in as neatly as you can. That's what I did. Just kind of keep the red on the red, or weaving the red into the red, or whatever colors you use. Try to keep them weaved into the same color so it's not sloppy. So your corners kind of match up, because that's going to be the seam, and you want it to try to look as okay as you can, but it's not. It's still going to have a seam on it, but just keep it as clean as you can. But once you get that piece done, you have to do a bottom, because we're going to sew the bottom on separately, which I started that already too, but I'll show you how I did that. The bottom consists of 2 strings of yarn worked together at the same time. So I just take my 2 strands and make a slip knot. And I'm going to show you on a smaller scale. All this is rows of single crochet. But you want to start off with a chain of 41. 41. But once you get your chain of 41 done, I'll just show you on a smaller scale. 41, you just single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, and then it's just one single crochet in every stitch until you get to the end of the chain. It's really easy. I'm just showing you smaller because I already got mine done. But when you get to the end of your chain of, you just chain one at the end and turn, and then we start again in the, not this very first stitch, but right here. Not this one, but this one. So start right there and single crochet, and then we just put one single crochet again in every stitch. Cross your row here using our 2 strands at once so the bottom is nice and strong. And when you get to the end again, all you do is chain one and turn, and again we're starting in this stitch right here, and not this one, but this one. Single crochet, one in every stitch, and that's all we're going to be doing is rows of single crochet. And you want to make sure when you get to the end here that you're going into that chain one, counting that, because if you don't, it's going to be crooked like that. Chain one and turn and start again, and you just keep going back and forth doing rows of single crochet until you get 20 total rows. So I started with my chain of 41 and I did single crochet for a total of 20 rows, and that's my bottom. And now I want to sew my bottom on. So to sew my bottom on, I'm going to take this, I'm going to sew it on, and then I'll seam up that side later. And I'm going to start, you pick which side you like the best. I don't know, they kind of look similar to me, but whichever one you want. And we're going to sew it the wrong side facing us. So when we flip it, the seam will be on the inside. So let me get it situated here so I can start. Okay, I'm going to start down here. Sorry, gotta get it right here. Okay, I'm going to start one end to the corner here. So what I'm going to do is, and you have to remember, there's going to be 20 stitches. You're going to have to do 20 stitches on this side and on this side, and then there's 40 on this, because you want them to, it should be the same number of stitches that we started with, so it should come out even. If you made yours bigger or smaller than mine, you make sure you make your bottom the appropriate size. Like we started out in a multiple of 4, so I plus 2. So my multiple 4, I started out with 122 chains. My multiple of 4 was 120. So that's why I did 40 and 20 on this side, 40 and 20. So that's a whole total of 120 stitches. That 2 chains is just for the base chain. Remember, we don't count that. I hope that didn't confuse you. But that is, if you made it bigger or smaller, you just adjust your bottom for the correct size. Now you get whatever side you want not to show and face it up, because we're going to be sewing it wrong side out. So at the end we'll flip it right side out. So I'm just going to start in the corner here, go into a stitch, and then I'm going to go into the corner stitch on this piece. Start my yarn, chain 1. Now I'm going to slip stitch it on. So I'm going to go into a stitch on this piece, and then the next stitch on this piece, and I'm going to slip stitch. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch on this piece. And then the next stitch on this piece. I'm sewing it down here at the bottom. Remember, where this is our top and our bottom is down here. Go into this piece and then the next piece on your main piece of fabric and slip stitch. And I'm just going to do that all the way around my entire piece, slip stitching it on. Just like that. And I'm going to work my way around the whole piece until I get back to my beginning. Okay, I made it all the way around, you can see, and I just slip stitched into my last stitch. Now I'm going to tie this off. And I'll have to hide these tails, but I'll do that in a minute. I'm actually going to flip it right side out now. I know on the inside the seam looks good like this, but I'm actually going to flip it right side out because it looks more like the photo, because you can't see the bottom of the bag on the photo. So okay, well, get it all straightened out. But okay, now this is going to be the part that you want to be the most careful on, is sewing this side up. So I'm going to put it wrong side out again. So I'm still got my wrong side out. And I'm going to use, I thought about the best way, I thought about for a while the best way to make this bag. And I thought the rows going back and forth was better than working in the round, because working in the round was kind of harder. And it didn't look as good. So, and to sew this up, and the seam up, I'm just going to do it as neatly as I can with my yarn needle. I'm not going to slip stitch it or anything. So I'm going to take a piece of yarn, and you just want to be careful. This is the part you want to take the most time on, is lining it up correctly and sewing it together. I'll probably start at the bottom and work my way up, but you can do it any way you want. And I'm going to do it as neatly as I can, trying to keep my colors lined up. But I don't want this thread to bleed through to the other side, so I'm not going to go like all the way through the stitches. I'm just going to carefully go through the top parts of the stitches and sew it up neatly. Just through, I'm not going through the whole stitch like that. I'm just neatly going through the top parts so this stitch won't bleed, this thread won't bleed through to the other side. And I'm just going to take my time and neatly sewing this side up. And it sucks that there has to be a seam like this, but I thought this was the best way. And you kind of just look on the other side and make sure stuff's lining up correctly. You might have to turn it inside out every once in a while and make sure that it's looking right to you. You just want it to be lined up. And you can see I'm barely going through the stitches. I'm not going all the way through them. And then when we get done, we can flip it right side out and take a look at it and see how it's looking. Every once in a while you want to open it up and make sure that you're lining them up correctly. You don't want it to be off too much. I mean, it's not going to be perfectly matched up, but you just want it to look as nice as you can. So I'm just going to take my time doing it and try to get it to look as good as I can. Keeping your colors lined up there. And remember, this seam is going to be on the inside, so you're not going to see this one. Let me open it up and check it out here in a second and see if it's lining up okay. Yeah, I think it's lining up okay. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going and seaming up this side. Okay, once you get it all sewed up the side, you just want to hide your tail. And then you can flip it right side out. And it will have a seam. There's not much you can do about the seam, but that's why I just wanted you to try to get it as neat as possible. So I think it looks okay. Looks pretty good for having a seam in it. I don't think it's really going to be that noticeable when you're carrying it. Okay, did you get it right side out? Now I'm going to work on handles. So I actually did the handles last night. I started on this back last night. So I'm going to set this to the side. And here's my handles. They're really easy too. I took, also for the handles, I used 2 strands of yarn at the same time. And start with a long tail so you can sew them on with it. So leave a long tail. And these are just rows of single crochet too. So start with a slip knot after you left your long tail. And I started with a chain of 7. And then the second stitch from the hook, we just single crochet. And then it's 1 single crochet in every stitch across for the length of your chain. And of course, if you want bigger or smaller handles, you can start with any number of chains. And then we just chain 1 and turn. And again, we go across, starting in this stitch again, not this one, this one. 1 single crochet in every stitch. This is just the same as the base that we did. So you want to keep going across with rows of single crochet, and I did a total of 46 rows for each one of mine. And then at the end you want to clip a long tail too on both sides like that. Now what we're going to do is get a piece of yarn here. I'm going to take a piece of yarn and my darning needle. And I'm going to fold this over and sew it together. But I'm going to leave some of this not sewed. I kind of just go by the picture. I leave about a couple inches not sewed up, so I just take it and I leave that the way it is, and I fold this up, and then I'm just going to start sewing it together. Now I'm not going to go back around, I'm going to go from side to side like this, and then back through this side to the other side. And also you can slip stitch this together if you want to. I'm going to do this on both handles. I'm going to make them the same. And that's kind of closing it up and making it look thicker. And I'm gonna do this until I get to the other side, and I want to leave the other side the same as this side, so about the same amount of rows, a couple inches or so open. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up until I get to the other side, and then I'm going to do my other handle the same way, and then I'm going to sew it on. Okay, now I'm going to sew on my handles. So I'm going to take, since we use 2 strings of yarn, there's going to be 2 ends. I'm going to sew one of them in because I'm only going to use one to sew on the bag with. So I'm just going to weave one of them in a couple times, a bit, and then I'm going to start with this one and my yarn needle. And you want to find your edges for your bag. Just follow your corners up here, and you can see where the edges are here and here. So once you get your edges marked, I'm going to sew it on the third one over. So 1, 2, 3 on this one, and on this one. So you should have, if you did it my size, you'll have 4 in the middle. So I'm just going to sew it on like I would any other bag. Just let's stick it right here where I want to sew it, on that third one. Make sure I got the right one. Well, yeah, right here. And just stick it kind of on like that, where a little bit of the opening, this part that you didn't sew together, is showing. And I'm just going to neatly sew it on. Oh, and again, this is, you want to do this as neat as possible too. You don't want a bunch of stitches showing through on the front. So just kind of do it as neat as you can along the stitches. It'll take a little bit of time just to be neat about it. And this is how I'm just going to sew on both handles. Just as neat as I can, just carefully. Take your time. Get your stitches pretty neat if you can. And just sew it on until you feel it's on pretty strong. And then when you get done, you just do the other side the same way. And then you do the other handle the same way. Okay, once you get your handles sewed on, that's the main part of the bag. And it's going to be kind of baggy. So if you want to line it, and it'll make it stiffer, because I know the original was really stiff. And also, you could line it and put a piece of that plastic canvas around all the sides. I'm not going to line it right now. I might some other day off camera, but right now I'm not going to. So just cut your fabric, your squares, the bottom square and the sides, and seam them up. And before you sew the fabric in at the top, just stick it, cut a piece of plastic canvas the size on all 4 sides. That's if you want to do that. When you put stuff in it, it's not going to look so baggy, but it's completely up to you. And another thing you can do is, like they have in the picture on the corners or on the sides, they have a button, magnetic button right here that can open and close. So I don't have any of them right now, or I'd put one on it. It's just, you can buy them at Walmart. They're just, put one on this side and this side, and then it buttons closed, like magnet close, and you can open it. That's just what they have in a picture, but that's it. That's all there is to it. That's the main part of the bag. So if you want to line it and make it stiff with plastic canvas, that's completely up to you. But I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please don't forget to check me out on Facebook. And until next time, have a good day.